Many of us have parents who are hitting that age where we need to kind of chip in, help out, and really start to take care of them in a couple of different ways. And smart home technology can be a real benefit to us here, as well as for our parents. Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm going to give you a full design so you don't have to go out and think about this too much. You can go ahead and add some little things as you see fit for your parents or for anyone that you need to take care of that's kind of getting up there in years, maybe struggling a little bit taking care of themselves. Now, the first thing that I think a lot of people struggle with is the idea that they have to manage all of this remotely and they're going to need ways to log in remotely. And I've heard this a number of times on the channel, and quite frankly, I'm going to give you solutions today that do not require that. I'm going to start with safety because I think that's front of mind for people whenever we talk about taking care of our family, our parents, whomever. I think that's the first and foremost thing. So we're going to talk about devices that can create safety or ensure safety, and we're going to start with smart home cameras. Now, there's a number of different ones on the market that you can go ahead and log into remotely, but I'll give you a few examples. Arlo, Nest, and the WiseCam right here. And I think the WiseCam is kind of the right level for what we're talking about. The WiseCam also has a specific local recording feature that I think is very important for us here. Now, the cloud recordings are very positive. You're getting a 12-second recording anytime you trigger your WiseCam. And you can trigger your WiseCam on motion or sound detection. Those things can always be utilized as per normal, but you can also create custom triggers with if this then that and any of the other smart home devices you have in your home, or at least any of the ones I'm going to recommend today. You can create custom triggers that trigger a cloud recording. The other thing that I'll tell you is really nice with a WiseCam is the ability to trigger on a zone. So you can actually set up zones inside the camera's view and inside the camera's application that will be your only source for triggers. So if you want to ignore other parts of the location that these cameras are in, you can do that. So if you wanted to set this specifically towards, say, something like the oven, you could utilize a camera specifically for the oven, cause a trigger there to start the recording. Something I use all the time here and something that I think is really well suited to this application is Samsung Smartthings, and there's a number of reasons for that, but we'll start with the sensors. This is a button right here. You have motion sensors that you can go ahead and utilize. There's multi-purpose sensors, there's leak sensors, and there's many more from other manufacturers that will directly connect with Smartthings. What's amazing about all of the different sensors from Samsung here, and even this button, is they all have a temperature sensor on them, and that means you can set triggers, you can set alarms, you can create automation off of a temperature sensor. And so when you think about things like ovens or things like refrigerators or just the general temperature inside of a apartment or wherever they're living, well, you can go ahead and create triggers to make sure that temperature ranges are within kind of acceptable limits. You can also do a little test with having them turn on the oven or having the oven turn on and then watching the temperature around a sensor like this and then just taping or using the 3M sticky tape that they give you to stick that temperature sensor right next to a device like that. Obviously, you can use it on a fridge as well, but we're not really talking about safety anymore with that. So getting back to safety, what you can also do is utilize things like motion sensors and the multi-purpose sensors to actually know where they are throughout the apartment and kind of track whether or not they're moving. So a great example of this is them actually getting out of bed in the morning. Does a motion sensor pick up? Does the door stay open or closed all night? Is there a change in any of those things? And you can set automation again within the application to do this. And this is where you'll start to see the systems come together, or the different components come together, you can utilize these as triggers for your Wise cams through if this then that. You can also be notified anytime that is happening as well. The other thing that's really great about Smartthings and connecting some of the bulbs, and I'm going to tell you a couple of examples of bulbs here that will connect with Smartthings but also be accessible remotely. The great thing about these is you can utilize reminders or create reminders for medications and things like that. So you can leave a little note next to a light bulb just in a similar thing to this. And if this turns on, you can say that, well, your medication hasn't been taken yet. You need to go and take that. Now, would that bulb turn off? Well, you can set some rules around that and say a multi-purpose sensor around the cabinet that they have to go to for their medications. And you can trigger a Wise cam to actually watch that is going on. So you could have complete knowledge of whether or not they took their medication and trigger a recording as well to actually see that has happened. One other thing that's interesting about lots of these sensors, or at least the multi-purpose sensor, now I'm showing a motion sensor here, but it has an accelerometer on it and it is able to sense motion and vibration as well. So you can utilize just the bigger piece of those multi-purpose sensors to actually know whether or not something is on the move, whether or not there is vibration going on a number of devices. So you could know if they're doing laundry, if they have laundry in wherever they're staying. You could know a number of things. And if you stick them on something like a tap, if you feel a lot of vibration in it, you're going to know if they're running that tap as well. So there's a lot of options with that little vibration sensor, and this is where you'll want to be creative within your own situation, but you can do that. Smartthings is also a complete do-it-yourself smart home alarm system, and so you can actually arm that system whenever they go to bed, and you would know whether or not their door was open. You can put sensors on the doors, you can put locks on the doors as well that will only open and close at certain times, or that you could open and close remotely as well. And that's a very important thing, I think, for a lot of safety related incidents that we can see. Now let's move on to a few things around convenience, and some of these things you could still apply to safety in different scenarios, but this little button here is it's quite the thing, to be honest. And you can single tap, you can double tap, and you can hold, and those three functions allow you to do different things. Now this little button could be placed basically anywhere in your home, and if there's certain switches or certain devices that they can't reach to, well, you can utilize this and replace either the component with another smart home. So if it's a light switch, you could replace it with another Zigbee light switch or a Z-Wave light switch and have it connect to Samsung Smartthings. I'm going to give you another solution for not replacing those as well here in a moment, but this allows you to give them control in different locations, say next to their favorite chair or their favorite place, and give them just little abilities. And I would say you probably just use the single tap option with these kinds of buttons, and you know, I know my parents don't love real complex things with automation, so they love just a button to press that turns on the lights for them. So now before we move on from that, and I'll talk about this product right here, but Samsung Smartthings, what's great about that application and the whole system is you can have multiple hubs under the same account, and you do not have to be local to manage the system. So you can go ahead and switch between hubs on the same account. So you can have home and grandpa's home or mom's home or whomever, and you can go ahead and manage those on the same application with the same account, and you don't have to change anything except the hub that you're communicating with. So that is extremely powerful for us as people who are going to be remote in a lot of cases. Speaking of remote, here's another device that is totally capable of you operating remotely. You do not need to be on the local Wi-Fi network for this as well. This is called SwitchBot, and these are the two different components here to SwitchBot. This is the Hub Plus, so this is the version they sell today, and this this is a SwitchBot itself. Now, the Hub Plus is an IR controller, so it's a lot like a Harmony Hub, and it does have a lot of devices on there. So you can go ahead and connect or control any IR-based device, or a lot of IR-based devices. I had a few that didn't quite work out, but in general, you will be able to find a device that is controllable by this SwitchBot hub here. Now, what I'll also tell you about this hub is it Bluetooth connects to the SwitchBots, and it's like an auto pairing thing. It's fantastic, actually. So what happens with these little SwitchBots is they're a little actuating switch. So they actually come out of the device and they tap the switch. So you could set these on any device that has a push button. So you don't actually need to change their devices. You don't actually need to change their light switches. You can simply stick these on with the 3M tape that they provide, and then you can have this actuate whenever you'd like. You can set it up through if this then that. You can connect it to the different voice assistants if you have that in your home as well, or in the home as well. So this is a highly powerful product, both for convenience and also for not making them get up and do things. You can also control it remotely, so you can press this button. As long as this is on the Wi-Fi, you can press this button from anywhere in the world as long as you have a cell phone connection. So that actually gives you a little bit of a safety backing for these products. Highly impressive. And of course, you can control air conditioners and fireplaces and all those kinds of things that are IR based. So finally, let's talk about the voice assistants. And this is a bit of an interesting discussion, because normally I would tell you, well, the Google Home is the better product and the Google Assistant does a little bit better. But here, I'm going to tell you that Amazon has a very clear edge in this regard. And the reason is I can again remotely control Amazon's Echo series of products without being on the same Wi-Fi. I can attach it to my same account, set it up for them, or I can create them their own account. Now, if you wanted to get local for any reason, you can also remote into a PC or a laptop that's sitting on the network and go to their actual website, which I'll just leave a link down below here and on screen right now. But you can go to that website, log in, and then you'll be able to remotely manage those devices as well that way, and then you'd be on the local network as well. So Amazon, as soon as you can log into the Amazon application for their voice assistant here, you're able to control any light bulb or device that is connected to this through the Wi-Fi. So as soon as you connect any bulb, it doesn't matter what kind, to Amazon's voice assistant, you're able to control it remotely without being on the Wi-Fi. And that would obviously be very powerful. Their routines is very powerful as well. Now, the other side of voice assistants are a little bit of the convenience factor. Clearly, it's good things. It's good to keep people engaged with society and thinking about the outside world, because it can, I think, sometimes get pretty lonely. So they can get the news, and you can set that up for them, which news sources they want to hear every morning. They can get the weather. They can get directions. They can get all kinds of things that they might want to have access to in just a quick moment, just by saying something like good morning. Now, I want to talk about a couple more systems that you can utilize and manage remotely, and this might trigger you into looking at a few different products. You know, the lock, the door lock, if you can actually make that change, well, that's great. You can go ahead and attach one that attaches to Samsung Smartthings. The other thing you could look at if you're a heavy iOS user is HomeKit, because HomeKit can be managed remotely. You don't have to be connected to that Wi-Fi network in order to actually manage those devices, especially with things like Philips Hue, which again, that application can be managed anywhere in the world as long as you've enabled that setting there in the device. So there's a couple more capabilities for you there, a couple more things you could do. If you need more information, you're seeing a couple of links here on screen that give you access to Samsung Smartthings and our Amazon voice assistants. I think those are critical components to this. So thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you next time.